Have you ever opened a pizza box and wondered when it stopped looking like the kind you remember? There was a time when crust meant handmade, sauce had bite, and toppings were generous without needing extra charges. So, why does it now feel like something familiar is quietly being replaced, one slice at a time? Today at the Hidden Menu, we take a deep dive into what's really being served at some of America's biggest pizza chains. So, let us start with 1. Pizza Hut and the strange disappearance of the pizza you remember. There was a time when walking into a Pizza Hut felt like stepping into something special. The red roof, the checkerboard tablecloths, the low lights, and smell of bubbling cheese made the whole meal feel like a small event. For many seniors, it was the place for Friday nights, report cards, and quiet birthday dinners where the jukebox played softly in the background. The pizza wasn't just food, it was something solid, filling, and familiar. But over the years, that version of Pizza Hut has quietly vanished. And for those who've stuck around long enough to notice, the new version doesn't quite taste or feel the same. One of the biggest changes has come in the crust. That buttery pan-style deep dish used to arrive hot and golden, with just the right mix of crunch and softness. Today, former employees say the dough is partially pre-baked, flash frozen in some locations, or trucked in with tighter shelf life than before. It's not made in store like it used to be, one former manager admitted. It's reheated. It still rises, but not the same. Customers have reported crusts that feel dry by the second slice, and some have quietly started adding dipping sauce just to finish the meal. The toppings tell a similar story. Where once there were thick layers of mozzarella, real chopped vegetables, and crisp-edged pepperoni that curled from the oven, today's pies often look flatter, more formulaic. One senior couple who had been ordering from the same location for 20 years said their large Supreme had less on it than a medium used to. A retired cook backed up the claim, noting that corporate guidelines now call for more precise portioning per topping. It's measured by weight now, he said. You don't sprinkle cheese anymore, you count ounces. Even the sauce has changed. Older guests say it tastes sweeter than they remember, more processed, less herbal. It used to have a kick, one woman said. Now it tastes like someone added sugar to ketchup. Former staff say sauce batches are pre-mixed and shipped in plastic bags, stored in the back, and poured into heating trays during prep. That means less variability, but also less soul. The dine-in experience has largely disappeared too. The salad bar, gone from most locations. The red cups and thick menus have been replaced with cardboard boxes and mobile apps. Seniors who once enjoyed sitting down with family now report eating lukewarm slices out of a takeout box in the front seat of their car. It feels like a drive-through with extra steps, one man said. And then there's the pricing. With smaller pizzas, thinner toppings, and fewer dine-in options, the cost has quietly crept upward. Many older guests who used to see Pizza Hut as a budget-friendly meal now say they're paying more and getting less. One retired couple showed a receipt that listed a large 3-topping pizza, breadsticks, and 2 sodas for nearly $30. It's not a treat anymore, they said. It's just another overpriced dinner. Pizza Hut hasn't gone anywhere, technically, but the thing that made it matter, what made it feel like a place rather than a product, has slowly been pulled away. And for seniors who return looking for a memory they once shared with family, what they find is something hollow. It's pizza, yes, but it's not the one they remember. 2. Domino's and the disappearing illusion of freshness. Domino's has always leaned hard into convenience. From the 30 minutes or less days to app tracking and car-side delivery, it built its reputation not just on pizza, but on speed. For a while that made sense. The pizzas were simple, the prices were low, and if it didn't blow you away, at least it showed up fast. But over time, something changed. Domino's started promising quality, craft, real ingredients. And for older diners watching from the outside, the sudden makeover raised more questions than answers. The crust used to be a basic foundation, soft, spongy, almost neutral. Now it's brushed with oils, garlic blends, and seasonings designed to mimic flavor, instead of letting it build from the dough. One former employee said the garlic oil gets applied with a wide brush, so the crust looks shiny and smells like butter, even if it's dry. For seniors used to simple, sturdy crusts, the result is often an oily exterior and a bland, chewy middle. Toppings have followed suit. Domino's ads show loaded pies with vegetables stacked high and cheese bubbling over the edges. But many customers say what arrives feels smaller, lighter, and inconsistent. They cover the center and leave the edges bare, one man said. It looks full in the photo, but it's missing in real life. A former prep worker confirmed that topping layouts are now grid-based, portion-controlled by quadrant. If a slice gets no sausage, that's just how it lands, he said. Cheese is one of the most common complaints. While Domino's advertises 100% mozzarella, older guests say it feels thinner and more rubbery than they remember. I used to have to cut through the cheese, one retiree said. Now I can see the crust under it before I take a bite. Some locations mix in lower moisture or shelf-stable blends depending on supply. Former kitchen staff said the cheese often arrives pre-shredded in giant bags with preservatives built in for extended storage. The sauce is pre-bagged too, stored cold, squeezed onto crusts, and often heated for the first time in the oven. One guest described it as a step above jarred pasta sauce. Another said, "You used to taste oregano. Now you taste corn syrup." The pizza tracker, a big part of the Domino's branding, creates the illusion of personalization. But many employees admit the updates are automated. It says John is boxing your pizza, one cook said. But there's no John, it's just a time marker. Seniors who value human interaction say the system feels robotic and at times misleading. Prices are another point of frustration. The long-running 2 for $6.99 deal used to feel like a steal. But now, with hidden fees, delivery charges, and tip prompts built into the online checkout, the total adds up quickly. We thought we were getting 2 pizzas for $14, one couple said. It ended up being over $25. Domino's is everywhere. It's fast, it's reliable, but the flavor, the quality, the experience that older guests remember from even a decade ago, it's been flattened, streamlined into something designed for screens, not sit-downs. And for seniors who've watched it evolve, the change isn't just about the food. It's about what gets lost when the entire meal becomes a process instead of a pleasure. 3. Little Caesars and the $5 illusion that no longer adds up. For years, Little Caesars was the no-frills favorite, the get-in, get-out place for a hot pie when dinner needed to be fast and cheap. That $5 price tag became legendary, and for seniors feeding grandkids or just themselves, it was a go-to option that didn't require planning. You didn't expect greatness, but you expected it to be hot, ready, and filling. That simple promise kept people coming back. But now, that promise feels paper-thin. The hot and ready pies don't always live up to the name. Multiple customers say they're told to wait 10, 15, sometimes even 20 minutes. One retired couple said they were asked to come back in half an hour. We said, "Isn't it supposed to be ready?" they asked. The cashier just shrugged. Former employees confirmed that during busy times, pies are made to order, but still sold under the Ready branding. And the $5 price? Gone in many places. The new standard is closer to $6.50, sometimes more, depending on location. Add in tax, and it no longer feels like a bargain, especially when the pizza you get feels thinner than ever. We picked up 2 large pizzas, one man said. Both were smaller than a medium used to be. Crusts are often undercooked in the rush, and toppings are notoriously light. One former staff member said the rule was spread wide, not thick. Cheese is applied in a single layer, just enough to melt, not enough to stretch. The sauce is ladled from large bins with pre-measured scoops. It's all about cost per ounce, the worker said. The quality of ingredients has also slipped. Many customers say the cheese tastes artificial and the pepperoni feels greasy without flavor. It's like they're painting on pizza, one senior said. Flat and oily. And the experience itself? Loud, rushed, and mostly hands-off. The staff often stays behind the counter, the waiting area is bare, and the transaction feels more like a vending machine than a pizzeria. You feel like you're not supposed to linger, one woman said. Just grab your box and leave. Little Caesars hasn't collapsed, but for many longtime customers, it no longer fills the role it once did. It was never gourmet, but it was dependable. Affordable, a little slice of ease. Now it's something else. Quicker in some ways, but emptier in others. And when a $5 pizza starts costing 7 and still leaves you hungry, the deal doesn't just feel broken, it feels forgotten. If your last slice folded like a napkin, tasted like cardboard, and still cost more than your Sunday roast, hit that like button, share your saucy complaints below, and subscribe to the hidden menu. We're slicing through the nonsense. One pie at a time. 4. Papa John's and the marketing mask that covers what's missing. Papa John's built its brand on the idea of better ingredients. It was right there in the tagline, repeated so often that people stopped questioning it. For many older customers, it stood out as a pizza chain that still cared about quality. The crust was different, the sauce had bite, and the pizza arrived with that little pepper in the box. Just enough of a twist to feel personal. But over the years, even loyal customers say something has shifted. The language still sounds the same, the pizza still looks like it should, but it does not taste like it once did. The crust, once slightly sweet and baked to a crisp golden edge, now shows up softer, flatter, and often undercooked. Customers report soggy bottoms and inconsistent texture. "It used to feel like bread," one man said. "Now it's like something trying not to be doughy and failing." Former kitchen workers confirmed that dough is now trucked in cold, pre-portioned, and sometimes stretched too thin to save time. "If it rips, you just fold it," one said. "There's no time to fix it." The toppings, especially cheese and pepperoni, are applied in tight portions. One guest noted that a large pizza had 4 pepperoni slices on an entire half. "You blink and they're gone," she said. The cheese, while still stringy when hot, it cools quickly and takes on a rubbery texture. Some locations use a cheese blend with added starches and preservatives, which change the melt and mouthfeel. "It's all about shelf life," a former shift leader explained, "not flavor." And the garlic butter cup, the little bonus that once sealed the deal, has become its own quiet disappointment. What used to be warm and rich is now often cold, oily, and flavorless. Customers say the cups feel thinner than before, the garlic flavor weaker. "I used to dip the crust and smile," one retiree said. "Now I barely use it." The sauce has grown sweeter with a thicker consistency that some customers describe as gluey. One senior said, "I remember when it had herbs you could see." Today it's uniform, red, and tastes more like syrup than tomato. Behind the scenes, the sauce is portioned in bags, pre-measured, and applied in lines, not ladled like it used to be. That change, former staff say, was about speed and consistency. Papa John's has also leaned hard into digital ordering and app-based deals. For younger customers, it's convenient. For seniors, it's often confusing. A retired couple said they had to call the store to ask how to use their coupon. "The guy told us to order online," they said, "but we don't have a computer." The chain's shift away from over-the-phone ordering has left some older guests behind. Portions are another quiet change. The pizzas are still called large, but many longtime customers say they seem smaller. "We used to have leftovers," one woman said. "Now we finish it and still feel like we need something else." The breadsticks, once thick and filling, now arrive thinner and greasier. The wings, smaller, soggier, and often hidden under pools of sauce that mask their size. Papa John's still talks like it cares about quality. The ads still lean into nostalgia, but the food doesn't always back it up. The crust is thinner, the toppings are lighter. The experience that once felt like a thoughtful upgrade now feels like a streamlined process. And for seniors who remember what made it different, the new version tastes more like every other chain and less like the promise it used to be. 5. Marco's Pizza and the quiet disappointment of almost being great. Marco's built its reputation quietly, never the loudest, but always present. It branded itself as the higher-end alternative in a fast food pizza world. For many seniors, it became a surprising discovery. The crust was airy, the cheese was real, and the toppings felt generous. At first, it felt like the kind of pizza you could bring home and be proud of. But over time, customers who once bragged about Marco's have started lowering their expectations. Because what used to be a dependable option has started to slip, just enough to notice, not enough to explain. The crust is where most guests feel it. It used to be fluffy, almost like fresh baked bread, with a little crackle on the edge and a softness underneath. Now it often shows up chewy, overly browned, or oddly bland. It felt overproofed, one man said, like it had been sitting too long. A former store employee admitted that dough is often prepped hours in advance and sometimes sits uncovered until rush periods. It dries out. Then it bubbles weird, he said. The sauce, once a standout feature with bold seasoning and real tomato flavor, now feels flatter and less memorable. Guests say it tastes more like filler, sweetened and watered down. I used to love the bite, one woman said. Now it tastes like tomato-flavored sugar. Former cooks confirm that sauce recipes have been adjusted for consistency and may now include more preservatives depending on the region. Toppings have become less consistent, too. One senior said his recent large pepperoni had a third of the slices with no toppings at all. It looked like someone shook the pepperoni bag and walked away. Cheese, once generously applied, now seems carefully measured. You can see the crust underneath before it's even cooked, one woman said. What frustrates older customers most is how close Marco's still is to being great. It's not bad, but it's just far enough off that it leaves you unsatisfied. The pizza arrives warm but not hot. The crust looks good but doesn't taste like much. The cheese melts but doesn't pull. It's like it forgot what made it special, a retiree said, or stopped trying. Some stores still do it right, but that inconsistency from one town to the next or one week to another is part of the problem. Seniors looking for routine don't want to gamble. They want to know the pizza will taste the same as it did last week. And when it doesn't, it's not just disappointing, it breaks the trust that brought them back. Marco's is still here, still solid, still above average. But for the people who once called it their favorite, that's not enough. Because when something that was once quietly excellent starts to feel just okay, it doesn't make you angry. It makes you miss what it used to be. 6. Round table pizza and the royal crown. That quietly lost its shine. Round Table used to carry weight. It wasn't the cheapest, it wasn't the fastest, but it was one of the few chains that felt like it respected the pizza itself. For older diners especially, it was the kind of place where you sat down, waited a little longer, and walked away full and satisfied. The crust was golden and chewy. The toppings were stacked high. And the dining rooms always had that slightly medieval decor that made it feel like an occasion, even if it was just Tuesday night. But lately, even the loyalists are admitting it's not what it was. The crust was always a point of pride, hand-rolled, pan-baked, and served hot enough to burn your fingers if you weren't careful. But now, customers say the bottom is often soft, the edges too thin to support the toppings, and the texture just a little off. It used to be chewy in a good way, one man said. Now it just feels tired. A former kitchen employee said that dough batches are sometimes pre-stretched to speed up prep, then stored in cooler trays. It flattens, he said. You lose the rise. Toppings, once the crown jewel, have shrunk. Sausage used to come in large, irregular crumbles. Now it arrives in uniform pellets. Pepperoni is smaller and greasier. The signature King Arthur Supreme used to overflow. Now customers say it looks like a regular pizza with a royal name. One couple said their favorite specialty pie used to require both hands to hold a slice. Last time it flopped over like a taco, they said. The cheese still stretches, but not as far. Some locations now use pre-shredded blends that include starch coatings to prevent clumping. That might help the staff, but it changes the melt. Guests say the cheese cools faster and congeals into a thick layer that peels off in one sheet. It's like a blanket, not a topping, one senior said. Round Table's pricing is also a sticking point. It was never cheap, but now it often lands in the high $20 to $30 range for a single pizza. For seniors on fixed incomes, that shift makes the chain feel out of reach. It used to be worth the splurge, one man said. Now it feels like you're paying for a title, not a meal. The dining rooms, once cozy and inviting, have become quieter. Not calmer, quieter. Some locations have closed entirely. Others stay open but rarely fill more than a few booths. The salad bar sits half-stocked. The fountain machine hums in the corner. It feels like the end of something, one woman said. Round Table hasn't completely let go. The logo is still the same. The names of the pizzas still carry a little drama. But the magic, the thing that made it feel like you were getting something special, is fading. And for seniors who remember the golden days, no amount of garlic parmesan twist can bring that feeling back. 7. Papa Murphy's and the take and bake shortcut that cuts more than just corners. Papa Murphy's was once seen as a clever alternative. A pizza you brought home raw, baked in your own oven, and pulled out piping hot just the way you liked it. For many older customers, it offered the smell of real baking, without the flour on your counter. You could control the timing, eat it fresh, and avoid delivery fees or lukewarm slices from a box. It felt like a middle ground between fast food and home cooking. But lately, what made Papa Murphy's different has started to feel like a quiet burden, one that creeps up slice by slice. The dough used to be rolled out in-store, fresh each day. It had weight, texture. You could feel the pull in the crust when you bit into it. But now customers say it feels lighter, less structured, and bakes unevenly. One retiree who had been buying from the same location for over a decade said, "It used to rise in the oven. Now it flattens like a cracker." Former prep staff confirmed that dough prep has been standardized across regions, and in some stores it's pre-rolled and refrigerated in bulk. It saves time, one said, but it doesn't bake the same. And what used to be generous topping piles now come in smaller handfuls. Guests report thinner layers of cheese, fewer vegetables, and meats that barely cover the surface. "You used to feel like it was packed," one woman said. "Now it looks like someone was measuring." Many franchises now follow strict topping weight guidelines, which reduce the visual appeal and the texture of each bite. The result is a pizza that may look fine going in, but feels empty coming out. The baking itself has become a sticking point for many seniors. What once felt like a simple final step now feels like an obstacle. Guests with limited mobility, vision issues, or small apartment ovens say the pizza doesn't always fit or bake evenly. One man said he undercooked a pie because he couldn't read the tiny instructions. "They assume everyone has the same kind of oven," he said, "but not everyone does." Papa Murphy's also eliminated its dine-in model altogether. There are no tables, no chairs, no coffee, just a counter, a register, and a set of racks behind glass. That may work for fast-paced families or younger buyers, but older guests say the shift makes them feel rushed or unwelcome. "You order, pay, and leave," one woman said. "It's not a visit, it's a transaction." And then there's the sauce. Once bold and a little tangy, it now tastes sweeter, like something from a jar. A retired couple said they noticed it changed around 2020. "We thought it was just a bad batch," the husband said, "but it's been like that ever since." A former employee confirmed that the recipe was modified to reduce sodium and preserve better in transit, but the change altered the flavor profile entirely. Customization used to be one of Papa Murphy's strongest points. "Want light sauce?" "No problem. Half cheese?" "Easy." But now guests say special requests are more likely to be misunderstood or ignored, especially at busy times. "We asked for no onions," one man said. "It came with extra." When they called to complain, they were told to just pick them off. The price has risen too. A large cowboy pizza that once cost $10 now runs closer to $15 or more, depending on the store. And while prices have gone up everywhere, Papa Murphy's built its reputation on value. When you add the cost of baking, electricity, time, the effort, it starts to feel like you're doing the restaurant's job for them. Papa Murphy's still talks like it's the smart choice, but for older diners, it no longer feels easier or better. It feels like one more thing you have to finish yourself, and if it's not perfect, that's on you. The crust doesn't rise, the toppings don't cover. The smell is still there, but the comfort it used to bring? That's what's missing. 8. Cece's Pizza and the all-you-can-eat. Deal that quietly gave you less. Cece's Pizza built its name on excess. Rows of pies, plates stacked high, dessert pizza tucked in the corner like a reward. For families on a budget or seniors with a good appetite, it felt like a dream. You didn't go there for artisan crust or organic toppings. You went because it was dependable. cheap, cheerful, and ready when you walked through the door. But today, the buffet still stretches wall to wall. But longtime diners say it stretches the truth more than anything. The crust is the first thing many guests notice. It used to be soft, chewy, just thick enough to catch sauce without feeling doughy. Now it's thinner, drier, and often brittle under the heat lamps. It breaks in half like a cracker, one man said. A former employee explained that the dough is now often rolled thinner to speed up bake time and reduce waste. You can cook more pizzas faster, and he said, but they don't stay warm as long. The sauce used to have that classic cafeteria tang, simple but satisfying. Now guests say it's barely noticeable. It's just moisture, one woman said. No flavor, no bite. The pepperoni is still there, but smaller and greasier. Cheese, thinner than ever. One customer joked that he could see his reflection in the layer of oil before he even picked up the slice. And it's not just the pizza. The pasta bar used to feature baked ziti, macaroni with sauce, maybe even Alfredo if you got lucky. Now it's often a single tray of overcooked elbow noodles with lukewarm red sauce. Breadsticks arrive in baskets that stay full because they're dry and tough. The salad bar? Smaller, with fewer toppings and more wilted lettuce than before. For seniors who remember getting their money's worth, the shift feels personal. It used to be a steal, one couple said. Now it feels like you're paying for disappointment. The base price has crept up in many locations. Add a drink and you're paying closer to $10, double what many older guests remember. That would be fine, one woman added, if the food hadn't shrunk while the price grew. The dining rooms used to be full of energy. Now some feel oddly quiet. Kids still run through with dessert plates, but older guests say the atmosphere feels tired. You sit down and wonder if it's closing soon, one man said, even when it's just past noon. And then there's the pizza itself. The variety has diminished. What used to be a dozen types on rotation now shows up as 3 cheese pies, a pepperoni, and a barbecue chicken that seems to sit untouched. When guests request a custom pie, they're often told it'll take longer or never see it arrive. We asked for spinach Alfredo, one woman said. They smiled. It never came. For older diners who made CC's part of their routine, after church with grandkids or just a quiet meal they could count on, the slow slide has been hard to watch. The brand still sells the dream of endless pizza, but what's endless now feels more like repetition. Reheated, rushed, and no longer satisfying. CC's hasn't closed its doors, but something inside has changed, and the seniors who once lined up for a meal that filled both plate and spirit now leave with full trays and quiet disappointment. The buffet is still long, but the value, real value, feels like the one thing that didn't make it to the table. If your last pizza night left you with more crust than comfort, share your story in the comments, give this video a quiet thumbs up, and subscribe to the hidden menu so you never mistake convenience for a real slice of satisfaction again. And remember, the truth is not always on the menu.